benefit for me to pay into the tax base.
There's no use to this. There's other.
Please don't say some opening words. I'm going to say something and I'll turn it over to you for your legalese part, then we turn it back on to close it out.
It is
I don't know. There's some ladies back there, but I don't know if they're sitting right now. It looks like some people in the far back. I think that's
You already?
My dad just called it 2 minutes ago. He said maybe last.
Yeah. 30 seconds. And it's hot. Same thing. Cream, you ready? Yeah. Jen, you guys ready? Good evening. The Monday, June 24th, Common Council meeting in South Bend is in session. Would you please all rise? Our invocation tonight is by Pamela Blair, board member of the LGBTQ Center of South Bend. Thank you for coming.
Greetings to the Common Council, the Clerk's Office, and the City of South Bend. As a board member of the LGBTQ Center and in acknowledgement of Pride Month, I was asked to share a prayer for this meeting. Shall we pray? Lord, together we pray for your presence at this specific time and everyone gathered here for this specific purpose. Let there be unity in the decision-making on the behalf of our city, and let us conduct ourselves in a way that we can hear truth and get a better understanding. Lord, increase our capacity so that all people share the responsibility, the burden, and the blessing of respecting and valuing the life and well-being of one another. May we always remember to pray for our city, our world, and its leaders. Protect Mayor Pete, Chasten, his husband, and their families. Give wisdom, grace, and mercy to those not just elected to serve, but sworn in to lead. Creator God, you made all things beautiful in your image. And tonight I pray specifically that we lift up the diversity of your creation. In our differences, teach us to love people of all sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. Give every heart the desire to work towards social justice, and let that include our LGBTQ community. Let us be a voice for those that have been oppressed, not welcomed, kicked out, separated, harassed, bullied, or not given the same rights as others. May we all feel and have the freedom to belong. Encourage advocates just as you sent Jesus to advocate for us. Let us see our own bias and place it before the mirror of God's love, and let our words towards each other speak life and not death. In Jesus the Christ we pray.
Thank you. Say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. If you would, please turn your cell phones to silent. Ms. Fowler, roll call.
Councilmember Preston,
Here.
Councilmember McBride,
Present.
Councilmember Broden,
Here.
Councilmember Teschka,
Here.
Councilmember Davis,
Present.
Councilmember Gordy,
Here.
Councilmember Furley,
Here.
Vice President White,
Present.
President Scott,
Present.
9 present.
Thank you. Report on subcommittee and minutes, please.
To the Common Council of the City of South Bend, the subcommittee has inspected the minutes of the June 10, 2019 meeting of the Common Council and found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Before we get to special business, I just want to remind the audience, we do have an overflow crowd. There is seating outside. There's a fire marshal here to make sure we're within compliance. There are speakers outside so everybody can be heard. If there's anybody out there, we will address them if they need to come to the podium to speak. This is a common council meeting. We will recognize council members and we will recognize citizens, and they will have the floor. And when they have the floor to talk, we expect everybody to be respectful and silent while they're sharing their part of the business. Before we move to 1944, some events that happened today. Our prosecuting attorney, Ken Cotter, for the county, requested a special prosecutor in the Eric Logan case. With that, I would like to turn it over to Bob Hummer or Dr. Davis.
I'll take it. Thank you, President Scott. In light of the decision with our Prosecutor Cotter, which we are very pleased on. Many of us here came tonight to express our letter of support that we wanted to encourage him to have a special investigation. Well, he's gone ahead and done that. And we will follow up with that with a letter of thank you, so we can make sure that our constituents' voices are heard. That we will send letters individually after this, which will be filed within the clerk's office, that we will follow up with a thank you that he has listened to the voices of the community, he's heard our pains, and he has then expressed the words that has been outlined in the media earlier, that we will follow up. At this time, I would like to thank all those who came to share their thoughts on that. There will be time during the privilege of the floor, up to 30 minutes, where they will be able to share their thoughts or any comments with that. And in light of that, I will share with our attorney. Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. As many of you know, there was a press release issued by the council on Friday indicating that council members individually would be able to express their feelings about the appointment of a special prosecutor. That issue is now moved. As much as the special prosecutor has been requested by Prosecutor Ken Cotter. The special prosecutor statute itself has two provisions that are relevant to the current situation. The one that the council would have been acting under as individuals allows anybody to express their opinion to the prosecutor as to the appointment of a special prosecutor. And if the county prosecutor simply makes that request of a judge, the judge may appoint a special prosecutor. However, if any individual files a verified petition with the court asking for the appointment of the special prosecutor, and the prosecutor, in this case Ken Cotter, who's already made that request, if the prosecutor agrees with that verified petition, the court does not have discretion. The court must appoint a special prosecutor. So those are two ways that a special prosecutor can be appointed: by request or with the agreement of the prosecutor.
Before we turn it back over to President Scott, could you please outline the counsel you gave us regarding the Department of Justice and why you directed us to send the letter to our prosecutor instead of doing both at this time? And I think that would be some clarity. I know the mayor has looked at doing that, but why you directed us as council members to proceed with this step first?
At the risk of waiving attorney-client privilege,
I understand, I'm at peace.
I advise the council that their focus tonight, had they voiced their opinions about the special prosecutor, be limited solely to the special prosecutor, not to a request to the Department of Justice to initiate an investigation. There are a couple of different reasons for that. First reason, statutory reason, is that would have taken official action by the Common Council. And the council simply did not have enough time to meet at a public meeting and add that to the agenda in order to take official action tonight. The second reason I advised council of that was because the primary concern of the council at this particular moment is the investigation and possible prosecution of the instance involved in the police shooting. That is an issue solely for state courts and state law. That would arise under the laws of the state of Indiana. The Department of Justice does not have jurisdiction to enforce any criminal statutes under the state law. Its jurisdiction as far as criminal liability for such instances would be a violation of civil rights, which it comes under federal law, not state law. So requesting the Department of Justice to do anything with regard to possible criminal charges at this point would just be farther ahead in the process than we are at now.
I thank you for sharing that, and I turn my time over to President Scott.
Thank you. With that said, Mr. Cotter fulfilled what our objective was today, was to speak on and allow the public to speak on the request for a special prosecutor. While that has been done by Mr. Cotter, it makes that part of this meeting moot. So we will not have any public meeting, any public comment at this point under special business. Again, at the end of this council meeting, it's on the agenda. There is privilege of the floor by state or by city statute. That's 30 minutes long. People are given 3 minutes each. They cannot discuss anything that is on the agenda tonight. So that's the time that's given here with this common council. We know that there's other avenues, and there's been other avenues for expression, and I know going forward there will be more in meetings and organized events around this issue, as well as what we heard last night, as far as improvement to the process, improvements to what needs to be made. So I want to make sure everybody's absolutely clear with that. So we thank Mr. Cotter for what he's done today. And with that, we're going to move on with our common council meeting. Okay? And I apologize for the heat. That is a county jurisdiction, not a city. We've asked them to make it cooler, but I don't think that's going to happen, so you're going to have to bear with us. In no disrespect if some of us lose our jackets during this meeting. Before we start to 1944, I'm sorry, we do have some continuations that I want to announce. Substitute Bill 1419, FS3 zoning ordinance amendment is continued to 7-8. Substitute Bill 1519, CBD zoning ordinance amendment is continued to 7-8. And Bill 1946, Restorative Justice Initiative Resolution, is continued indefinitely. This is by the Public Relations Committee. Chairperson Regina Williams-Preston will have more meetings regarding this subject. It's very important to all these council members. It was discussed in committee earlier today, and that is continued, and we'll have citizen input on that as well. So 1419, 1519, and 1946 are all continued at this point. So if you're here for those, they will not be heard tonight. Okay, with that said, Ms. Fowler, would you please read 1944?
1944 is special resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, honoring and thanking the 2018-19 Notre Dame women's basketball team and its very special head coach, Muffet McGraw, for contributions to the South Bend community.
Thank you. Are there presenters?
Yes.
And I am one of them, so.
Sharon McBride, 415 East Broadway Street, South Bend, Indiana. I'm the 3rd District Council Representative.
Karen White, 1912 Melbourne Way, Council Member at Large.
Oliver Davis, 6th District, 1801 Nash Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46613.
Tim Scott, South Bend Common Council President, 711 Forest Avenue, South Bend, Indiana, 1st District. Do we have our group with us today? Coach? Hey. Everybody, come on up.
Mr. President and Council, I am very thankful of being here today and having the opportunity to honor our Notre Dame women's basketball team and coaching staff. They are the #1 coaches in the nation and basketball team at the same time. I bring to you Bill number 1944, Resolution number 4797-19, a special resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, honoring and thanking the 2018-19 Notre Dame women's basketball team and its very special head coach, Muffet McGraw, for contributions to the City of South Bend and the community.
Whereas the University of Notre Dame draws much attention to the South Bend community through its international reputation for excellence in academic, religious, and other pursuits. And whereas among those other pursuits known for excellence is the university's athletic program. And whereas among those athletic programs, the women's basketball program is among the most visible and respected programs year in and year out. And whereas it is no accident that the women's basketball program is consistently among the best in the nation. And whereas the 2018-2019 edition of the women's basketball program continued the long tradition of excellence by reaching the program's 7th NCAA championship program, its 9th Final Four, its 24th consecutive NCAA tournament, and the 67th NCAA tournament, take a breath, wins. Its 6th straight Atlantic Coast Conference regular season title, and its 5th Atlantic Coast Conference tournament title, and
of course, you wouldn't give the names to the person who goes every game. But whereas individual members of the team achieved far more accolades than can possibly be included in this resolution, and whereas those individual accolades came as a result of not only of individual effort, but also through the efforts of the entire team, including coaches, trainers, managers, and many others who participated in the program, including parents. And whereas the team members include Jordan Nixon, Caitlin Cole, Mariana Mabry, Jackie Young, Caitlin Gilbert, Brianna Turner, Abby Prohaska? Sorry. Nicole Benz, Daniel Cosgrove, Enrique Umangla, I knew I was going to. Well, sorry, I knew I was going to butcher that. Mikayla Vaughn, Jesse Shepard, Danielle Patterson, and Maureen Butler. And whereas the coaching staff includes head coach Muffet McGraw, associate head coach Carol Owens, associate coach Beth Cunningham, associate head coach recruiting coordinator Neil Ivy, director of basketball operations Katie Capps, and video coordinator James Spinelli. Spinelli.
And whereas the true meaning of the team's greatness cannot be summarized in wins, losses, and titles, but must also include academic success, class, dignity, toughness, determination, and grace under pressure. And whereas the once constant in the consistent success of the Notre Dame program over the past 32 years is the leadership and example of head coach Muffet McGraw. And whereas Coach McGraw is among the truly elite basketball coaches, having been inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, and the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. And whereas Coach McGraw is the 6th all-time among NCAA Division I coaches with 923 career wins, including 2 national champions, and her 8th all-time, which is 8th all-time in the Division I, according with a .77 career winning percentage. And whereas the true measure of Coach McGraw's greatness also cannot be summarized in wins, losses, and titles, but must also include life lessons taught to players by both word and example, and a willingness to go beyond the basketball court to address issues of local, state, and national and global importance.
Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, as follows. Section 1, the South Bend Common Council proudly honors and thanks the 2018-19 Notre Dame women's basketball team for its positive contributions to the South Bend community. Section 2, the Common Council also proudly recognizes the valuable contributions made by Coach Muffet McGraw to the betterment of society at large. Section 3, the Common Council wishes continued success to those team members who will not be returning to South Bend area next year. Section 4, the Common Council anxiously awaits the continued success of those team members who will return to the South Bend area next year. Section 5, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from after its adoption by the Common Council and approval by the mayor.
Excellent. Thank you all. Coach, would like to say a few words? Come on up.
Right here. This is the microphone. That's
No pressure on that last one, huh? I'm so proud to be a part of this community. I love South Bend. But we have some issues. I think South Bend is not immune to problems that every city across the country is facing. Racial inequality, gender inequality, homophobia. We are a nation divided. And I wonder sometimes how we got here. When did we stop listening to each other? When did we stop having open and honest debate? Without public discourse, how will we ever solve our problems? I'm so happy to see so many people here today who are willing to stand up and use their voice and fight for what we need in this community. But it is not a black issue. It is not a black versus white issue. It is not a blue versus black issue. This is an issue that we all face. It is our problem. And if we share in the problem, we have a much better chance of sharing in the solution. But it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's a Herculean task, to be honest. But I would love to see South Bend be that city that everybody in the country can point to across the country and say, this is how people live in community. This is what community is all about. This is how you solve your problems. We can't wait for people in Washington to step in and fix things. They don't want to fix things. They just want to tell us who's to blame for it. We've got to stand up and we've got to stand together, and we can do it. We can be that city, but we've got to come together. And we have to start listening to each other. Thank you.
Mr. President, we also have a special presentation by the Mayor's Office.
First of all, watch the video, and then I have a special presentation.
Thank you. And be awarded with the highest honor the city can confer, the key to the city, to Muffet McGraw. Coach Muffet McGraw has been an inspiration to our community, to athletes, women and girls, and boys and men across the country, with the determination, the outstanding work ethic, the very tough leadership that she has demonstrated over many years and continues to show, with the extraordinary performance of Notre Dame women's basketball. Not only the 2 national championships, but the many championship appearances and other phenomenal achievements on the court. One of the reasons we admire Coach McGraw is that she has also been a moralist, someone who has spoken out about issues like the gender pay disparity and disparities for women and men. Somebody who's spoken about the need for representation and leadership, that we need strong women leading in every sector from sports to politics to business, every sector of our country, in order to be better at what it is we do, whatever it is. It goes better when there is gender balance and when we have empowered women. In that sense, Coach McGraw is a beacon, not only within the field of athletics, but truly a leader in our country. And I admire everything that she has done, and South Bend is proud to claim her as a member of our country. So congratulations, Coach, and I can't wait to see what your talent and leadership will continue to deliver to your staff.
Does it work at the mall?
Most So, with that, we'll turn to the Common Council. We're not done yet, sorry. Sorry, we still have a little procedure. With that, we'll turn it over to the Common Council for comment. We'll start with the 2nd District.
Okay. Congratulations, ladies, athletes, coaches, and Muffet McGraw. We kind of got a little tutorial tonight, didn't we? A nice example of how you use your platform to forward issues of social justice. And I just want to thank you for that. Not just today, but every day. But yet, especially today. Being able to pause for a moment and recognize what's in the room. And it's great to see it in action, because we see it tonight and we know, as it's been said, that all of these ladies have the privilege to experience that, not just your tutorial in terms of athletics and those skills, but clearly the moral and social issues. So thank you again. Congratulations, ladies. And you are forever in the history books in South Bend, and we welcome you. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to be brief. I am actually overcome with emotion from those very pointed remarks. Thank you. And ladies, thank you for what you do on and off the court. It means, I'm sure, so much to you and your families. Your performance honors the life work of your coaches who care about your development, not just as players, but as women. Thank you.
Good job, everyone.
Thank you, ladies, for just for your achievements, right? And those are, as Councilmember Broden pointed out, achievements on and off the court, right? It's one thing to be an athlete, it's another thing to be a student athlete, and it's another thing to be a student athlete at Notre Dame. and you all do it, and you pull it off just fabulously, and all the while being an example for our community, not just the young women in our community, but our community as a whole. And we've seen it time and time again in our country, how sports can bring us together. And Coach McGraw, thank you for your remarks. You've proven tonight that you don't have to be one of Coach McGraw's players for her to coach you. And thank you for what you do, not just for this team, but for South Bend.
Thank you for everyone, for all the enjoyment you've brought to all of us. I've been fortunate to be a season ticket holder for at least 15 years, and I want to thank you in particular for achieving that 88-point plateau and getting me the free Big Macs. So thanks very much.
Mr. Furley.
No, just say thank you all for being such a positive part of our community. Thank you so much.
We're not done yet. This is democracy in action. Anybody here
from council sponsor? I would like to echo Councilwoman Preston's remarks and Councilwoman Broden. I really am humble and so profoundly touched by the coach standing here. Not only did she acknowledge the work that she's done, but she spoke in terms of the situations that we're dealing with in our community, and you did it so well. And I'm very appreciative of it. I admire you as an individual, how you have stood tall in face of challenges, and you spoke the truth. And I appreciate you. I've heard that a single committed person can make a difference, and you are that person. So I appreciate you so much.
I'd just like to say, we're almost done. Thank you, Coach. I mean, that really sets the bar, and that's what you guys do. Be number one. That is setting the bar. So thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, and everyone with Notre Dame basketball program. You're part of our community, and we absolutely adore and admire what you guys do in being part of this community. And that means so much, something that we all can rally around, a center point, and this is one of them. And we truly appreciate that. So, thank you. With that, the democracy part, is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this resolution? Please come to the podium. Seeing none. Anyone wishing to dare speak against?
Got a call here from Gino.
Come on up.
Somebody named Gino.
Hold on. I'm sorry, we're going to backtrack. In favor?
In favor.
Okay, all right. We're just making sure. So please say your name and address for the record.
My name is Tomanich Wheeler, 1628 South Carlisle Street. And I just want to recognize Notre Dame for reaching out to me, even though I got back too late to respond, because Tim Scott and Karen White and I was out fighting a war before this war even started, like blood, sweat, tears. I have an upcoming organization called Single Mom Heart, and Notre Dame web team had reached out to me to do my website for me and to compliment me on what I was trying to implement for single mothers within the inner city of South Bend. So when you said what you said, it is so true, and it brings tears to my eyes, because that's been something I've been waiting to hear, because I've been always in the fight. And the other day, a lot of people have taken my roaring as yelling, and it took some women. I don't know where she is. She's somewhere, but she works in the mayor's office, and they pulled me in the hallway yesterday and said some things to me, and it calmed me to where I've been able to cry for the first time in 8 years, So I just want to compliment Notre Dame to continue to do what you do with your reach out for the African American mothers.
Thank you. Just one more time. Anyone against? Thank you.
Make a motion to adopt by acclamation.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. enjoyed your play. And your student. And your student, shooter. Oh. Good life lesson right there.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
That was great. I might go
I got one more to do. I got to come back down here. Oh, that's me, man. And I need my phone. And I need my glasses.
That was great. That was great. Definitely. She should have.
Bianca. Thank you all. This is what we do at Common Council meetings in the Midwest. We just get number one basketball teams to show up. With that, Ms. Fowler, would you please read 1947?
1947, a special resolution to address the impact on the citizens of South Bend with respect to the temporary relocation of the St. Joseph County Library.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Mr. Presenter.
Oliver Davis, 1801 Mass Street. This is a resolution really for a call to action, and I'm glad from the email I got, which I will read into the record today, that action has already begun. It said a special resolution to address the impact on the citizens of South Bend with respect to the temporary relocation of the St. Joseph County Library. Whereas the St. Joseph County Library Board on Monday, May 20th, 2019, approved a letter of intent to lease the first floor of the former Brown Intermediate Center building at 737 West Bill Street to serve as the temporary St. Joseph County Public Library's main library, doing work on the library, $38 million Learning Center construction renovation project at 304 St. Main Street in downtown South Bend. And whereas, under the terms of the agreement, the library would take over much of the school's first floor for 2 years beginning November 1, 2019, with the option to end the lease agreement after 18 months if the new library project was completed early. And whereas on November 26, 2018, South Bend Common Council took 2 actions enabling the St. Joseph County Public Library to move forward with the main library renovation and expansion project to the cost of $36 to $38 million. The council voted unanimously to approve a 3-way agreement with the Library and Community Foundation of St. Joseph County, committing the city to contribute $4 million, the library to pay $20 million, and the foundation to spend $10 million. In a separate but related step, the council also approved $4.8 million bond. The city expects to issue the bond in late 2021. In addition to its own $10 million construction, the foundation will start fronting money next year so that the construction can begin. Then we will be reimbursed later with the city's $4 million once the city has issued its bonds. And whereas throughout the years, many people, including our residents who are dealing with housing instability, often utilize the St. Joseph County Library as a resource for shelter throughout the times of its daily operations, particularly during the inclement weather. And whereas a discussion to plan adequate public transportation routes with Transpo officials to discuss the needed route changes and the cost to make those changes. And now, therefore, it be proclaimed by the South Bend Common Council as follows. Section 1. On behalf of the citizens of the city of South Bend, Indiana, we affirm our South Bend Common Council mission to make certain that our city government is always responsive to the needs of our residents and that the betterment of South Bend is always our highest priority. Section 2, the city of South Bend continues to be made stronger when organizations work together to foster positive change and growth. And Section 3, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon the passage of the South Bend Common Council and approved by the mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Alrighty, I would like to share a letter that I sent to you all, and I told her I would share. This is that came today from Ms. Deb Futa from the library, and I was glad that she wanted to send a response to the resolution. She said, "Thank you for sending her a copy. Her board met this afternoon. She would like to provide our council with an update. She's been in touch with Ms. Amy Hill from Transpo about our move. Initially, they believed that Brown School was on a bus route, and it was only later that they realized their error. We asked Transpo to consider expanding either the 3A or the 3B route to add a stop at Brown for the duration of our stay there. She understands from Transpo that adding the stop would create difficulties in other parts of the route, but we agreed to keep the conversation going. So we've talked about that, so we're going to be discussing that. Part of our awareness efforts as we get nearer to moving will be to manage the expectations in the community. Brown School really will serve as the equivalent of one of our neighborhood branches. The space we are utilizing will not be large enough to function as a main library. This would be a place for our back of our house operations and some collections and equipment storage, along with a branch presence in Keller Park. The two unique areas we'll be able to provide at Brown will be our local and family history services and our Studio 304 digital creation space. We really are fortunate to have a robust branch in South Bend. We do have 3 locations directly on a bus route, LaSalle, Weston, and River Park. In addition, German and Tut are within a few minutes walk to stop. We plan to shift both collections and staff to several of these locations, and we offer longer hours to offset the temporary closing downtown. I agree wholeheartedly with the council's efforts to work together to deal with any challenges our move presents to the community. Questions and comments?
Any questions for Dr. Davis?
Questions, comments?
Comments?
Mr. Davis, I just want to say, with the temporary site in the 1st District, I appreciate your efforts, you and Mr. Teshka, on Transpo board to continue to push for Transpo services. I wish that was agreed upon and reached before the move was made, but we're dealing with a county entity as well as a school entity in this more than anywhere else than the city entity. So I appreciate your efforts on this and keeping the conversation going. Appreciate the other branches and sites. So, any other?
I just want to recognize the South Bend Community School Corporation stepping up during this transitional time that will allow us to really develop a tremendous community asset. So they stepped into the gap, and I think with your resolution today and the efforts prior to this meeting with the South Bend Public Library, their moves, I think it's going to be a good temporary location and full services and accessibility for everyone. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. Anybody else on council?
I think with the issue of homeless situation, many of them have, in the weather, especially in the cold, weather we have in the fall and cold, utilized the library downtown during the cold weather, and now they would have to be spread out throughout the city for those kind of things, but they would be on bus routes, and those of us at Transpo would have to continue to work on that. I would work back to say that given our financial status at Transpo, we probably need to consider with the library. It was not a part of the financial negotiations that we all talked about, but to make a route change like that, each change costs money. And there's delay in the services at one part because the way our bus system is set up. And so therefore, it may be where we're going to have that conversation too when it comes down to financial dollars with the public library, with those in the county, to help us out to offset the changes that will be from that standpoint, to make sure that everything functions directly, because that is a different change for that period of time.
Thank you. Anything else? With that, we'll open up to public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor of 1947, please come to the podium.
Whoa. You okay? I'm okay. I didn't see that down here.
You have to drop step, and one of the basketball players will show you that, Dr. Davis. So, you say your name and address?
718 East Broadway Street, South Bend.
A little louder, Conrad.
Okay. Conrad Damian, 718 East Broadway Street, South Bend. I commend the council for this resolution. I think there are some important things to be considered and continued for the homeless community in our city. One is the cost of bus passes. It's $3 a day for a bus pass, and that's a difficulty for people who are have limited income or no income at all, who could walk to the downtown library. And so even though we've made it convenient, putting it on a bus route, we have to realize that that is still a difficulty for some of our people. Additionally, we need to make sure that there are resources for computer use, because many of the homeless use the computers in the library for job applications, for checking in on their various Social Security needs and so on. So I hope that all of the considerations will be looked at in the work that you're doing to make sure that this population is served by our community as they have been served by having a library downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Next name and address, please.
John Schaefer, 402 Bison Ridge, Napanee, Indiana, advocate for the homeless and co-founder of Michiana 5 for the homeless. The closing of the library, I don't think anyone really understands yet the impact that's going to have on the homeless community. These people are already very much at risk, living outdoors in all temperatures, but in the summer, in the 2 years that this is going to be closed, that's a place where they go to retreat, stay warm, use the bathroom. In the winter, when it's freezing out, we know from the polar vortex we had, how cold things can get. But it's cold throughout every day of the winter for many of these homeless. They rely on the refuge that the library has offered. We need to find another place where the homeless can seek that refuge. We need to make sure that they are safe and that there's bathroom facilities, that there's a place to rest their feet, because they're outside walking around so much, going from soup kitchen to soup kitchen. We need to do something. We need to find a place. I encourage every possible stone to be unturned and everything to be considered, including, weighing the cost, because the alternative is people are going to freeze. The alternative, if we don't do something, health is going to be affected more, and if we're going to pay for it as a city more in the long run because of these 2 years the library is closed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak against 1917, please come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll turn it back to council.
Motion to adopt by acclamation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to a report from city offices. At this time, there is no report from city offices. I believe Laura O'Sullivan from the mayor's office is in the audience. Thank you for being here. This time, I will entertain a motion to rise and join the committee of the whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Pass that down.
Thank you. Committee of the Whole is now in session. This is the portion of the council meeting where the full council meets as a committee. During each ordinance, members of the public will have an opportunity to speak either in favor or opposition. Your comments will be limited to 5 minutes. With that, will the city clerk please read Bill number 1219?
1219, public hearing on an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance for property located at the northeast corner of Colby Boulevard and South Bend Avenue, Councilman in District Number 4 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
Committee report.
Zoning and Regulation Committee met and bring this to you with a favorable recommendation tonight.
Report from the city office.
Yes, hello, Jordan Wyatt, Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth, offices on 11th floor of this building. The petitioner is requesting to rezone the property outlined in red on your screen from SF2 single-family and two-family district to MU, and MU mixed-use district to MU mixed-use district. To the east and south are single-family homes zoned SF2 single-family and two-family district. To the west across South Bay Avenue are vacant parcels zoned MU mixed-use districts, in Eddy Street Phase 2 zoned MU mixed-use district. To the north across South Bay Avenue are single-family homes zoned PUD. Here's a view of the site from South Bay Avenue, and an aerial to better show the whole property. The site plan shows the development of a 4-story mixed-use building with 3 floors of commercial and 1 floor residential on top, and the parking is located behind the building with the building set at the corner. The new plaza area will be constructed to integrate the multi-use path. This comes to you with a favorable recommendation from the Area Plan Commission.
Thank you. We'll now turn to the presenter. Petitioner.
Thank you. Chair, members of the council, my name is Stephen Studer. I'm an attorney with the firm of Creek DeWaffles, offices at 4101 Edison Lakes Parkway, Mishawaka, Indiana. With me this evening now, Mr. Mike Dan from Dan Sharn Associates. We haven't addressed any site plan issues. We also have a representative of the potential developer, Mr. Pat Matthews. This comes with a unanimous favorable recommendation from the Area Plan Commission, favorable recommendation from the committee this afternoon, and a favorable recommendation from the staff. We are seeking to rezone half of this lot, which is already multifamily. The other half is SF2. We want to zone the whole thing to mixed use. With respect to rezoning, this rezone is consistent with the South Bend Comprehensive Plan, the Future Land Use Plan, and the Northeast Neighborhood Development Plan. The staff found it to be responsible development and growth to locate dense mixed-use buildings in major intersections in State Road 23 and Corby. Just as we pointed out earlier in the committee meeting, the developer did have a community meeting. We had representatives from the Robinson Center, Notre Dame, neighborhood, the NNRO, City of South Bend, and others. We also sent out packages to each of the people within 300 feet and a little farther than that, showing both the site plan and the elevations. We also have the authority to represent to the council that the NNRO supports this petition. Mr. Timothy Sexton from Notre Dame, who's president of NNRO, said that we were also about to mention that the NNRO does support the petition to reuse. Given the heat, I'd be happy to answer any questions on Mr. Danch or the developer.
Thank you, Mr. Studer. Are there any questions from the council members?
I just have one. During the hearings, did anyone speak in favor or opposition?
We had no one in opposition. We did have people speak in favor.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any comments at this point?
Yes, I would I'm sorry, Councilman Burden. I would actually like to thank you for the work that you've done in this, your collaboration with our planning department, your respect for plans, the public engagement process, and the transparency that's throughout the entire pathway here. The collaboration always makes things easier on when we finally see here at a council, and so thank you for your work in that regard.
Any other comments? If not, we'll turn to the public portion. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in opposition?
Favor first.
Favor first. FF. Stable off.
Make a note for them to hear.
My name is Mo Miller, and my address is 1227 Quigley Place. I am an original homeowner in the Triangle Subdivision, and I am also a member of the Triangle Subdivision Homeowners Association. I am here today to speak in favor of this project. I am familiar with the plans of development. I have been familiar with those plans for many years, even prior to when my family decided to build a home in the Triangle. We look forward to the future development, and I support this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here to speak in favor? Now, is there anyone here to speak opposed? to this petition. We'll go to the council.
Motion to send to the full council favorably?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to send 1219 to the full council favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So done.
Cool.
Will the clerk please read 1319?
Public hearing on an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 3102 East Mishawaka Avenue, Councilman District in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
Committee report?
Yes, the Zoning and Annexation Committee met, and we bring this bill to you with a favorable report.
Okay, city report?
Yes, Jordan White, Department of Infrastructure, Planning and Growth, offices on 11th floor of this building. The petitioner is requesting to rezone the area, and right on your screen, from OB, Office Buffer District, to MU, Mixed Use District, for a two-family dwelling. To the west and north are businesses on MU Mixed Use District. To the east are duplexes on MF1 Urban Corridor Multifamily District. To the south are single-family homes on SF2, single-family and two-family districts. Here's a view of the property from Mishawaka Avenue in the parking lot to the south. The site plan shows the placement of the required perimeter landscaping into the tree lawn and physical separation of the parking lot you previously saw from the sidewalk per DCI's recommendations. This comes to you with a favorable recommendation from the Area Plan Commission.
Thank you very much. Now comes the petitioner.
Good evening. My name is Dale Nunez, 1628 Portage Avenue. We're petitioning the rezoning of 3102 East Mishawaka Avenue from office buffer to mixed use. Our application was evaluated and supported by the Department of Community Investment with two requests, one landscaping with 2 trees, and the other the use of parking bumpers in the parking lot to avoid encroaching on the sidewalk. We agree with both requests and look forward to working with the city to implement them. The rezoning of 3102 Mishawaka was unanimously passed by the Area Planning Commission, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Nunez. We'll go to the council portion if there are any questions.
Question, in terms of your implementing the recommendations by our planning department and moving the landscaping that would traditionally be required to be on the lot itself and actually taking that to the side, the other side of the sidewalk there. Can you generally speak to, in general terms, the impact on you as a developer in terms of the, generally speaking, the financial investment, or in generally speaking, the hardship, if you would, or not, with regard to that?
Right. I don't see any hardship, and actually I think that it would add to the community to have some healthy shade trees on 31st Street.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other question? Any council comment beyond? Okay, then we'll go to the public portion. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone in opposition? And we'll go back to the council.
Move to send to the full council favorably.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to send this bill to the council favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So done. Will the clerk please read 1419, please?
No, we're doing 1419.
Make a motion to send sub 1419, or continue sub 1419 till 7/8.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to send sub for second reading and public hearing on July 8th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry. Okay. 1519, the next item on the agenda. Is
Make
there
a motion to send substitute 1519 to the, or continue substitute 1519 to 7/8.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to set this for July 8th, second reading and public hearing in the substitute version. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So done. The clerk, please read 1619, please.
1619, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana for budget transfers for various departments within the City of South Bend, Indiana for the year 2019.
Can I make a motion to hear 1619, 1719, and 1819 together for purposes of public hearing?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to combine for purposes of public hearing 16, 17, and 1819. Will the clerk please read 1719, please?
You did vote.
Oh, yeah, I just assumed. There's motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No nays?
No.
I heard 9 voices.
You're good.
Okay, will the clerk please read 1619? 1719.
1719, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating additional funds for certain departmental and city service operations in 2019 of $85,857 from the General Fund 101, $657,159 from Parks and Recreation Fund 201, $28,150 from Gift, Donation and Bequest Funds 217, $97,077 from the Hall of Fame Debt Service Fund 313, $321,707 from the 2018 Fire Street 9 Bond Debt Service Fund number 350, $178,534 from the Professional Sports Development Fund 377, $1,811,500 from the County Option Income Fund Tax number 404, $3,300,000 from the 2018 Zoo Bond Capital Fund number 453, and $70,000 from the Smart Streets Bond Capital Fund number 753.
Thank you, Clerk Fowler. Take a deep breath and please read 1819, please.
1819, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating additional funds for certain departmental and enterprise operations in 2019 of $9,060,000 from the EMS Capital Fund number 287, $177,475 from the Century Center Operating Fund number 670, and $63,000 from the Century Center Capital Fund 671.
Who from the city is making a presentation?
Committee reports.
Oh, committee reports on all 3.
No, that's Miss White.
The Personnel and Finance Committee held a second reading and committee meeting regarding Bill 1619, 1719, 1819. And as our city controller is standing before us, I would ask him to give a brief summary of this process that we put in place, that these types of bills will be coming before the council on a quarterly basis. But also, I would like to publicly thank you for reaching out to the council members if they had questions, and your willingness to sit down and to discuss what is before us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dan Parker, I'm the city controller. Offices are up on the 12th floor of this building. This is part of a routine quarterly budget appropriations process where we come before council and request budget transfers between various funds, as well as additional appropriations for unexpected expenses or just capital items that we need to appropriate, or administrative types of items. So this is a relatively routine quarterly appropriations request. So getting into the bills, 1619 is our budget transfer bill. This bill does not increase or decrease appropriations. It simply transfers between different cost categories within already appropriated funds. There's a number of different items on here. I'm happy to discuss any of them that council has questions on.
Thank you. Any questions from council members on that first bill, 1619? Okay.
Bill 1719 is a request for additional appropriations for our governmental funds. There's a number of different items on here. They're separated into our categories of items that are supported by new revenue, items that are capital projects, and then some administrative cleanup types of items. The largest items on here are a $1 million appropriation for spending of a grant that the city received from the Layton Foundation for the MySB Parks and Trails Initiative. Moving on to the capital projects, there's a $1.8 million additional appropriation request for the implementation of the city's new accounting software, our ERP system. The original plan was to lease that implementation cost and actually take out a loan for it, but given the city's cash position, the city has the opportunity to avoid a significant amount of interest cost by simply paying for it up front. So we would ask for an additional appropriation for that. And then finally, there's a $3.3 million request, which is simply to appropriate the funds for the zoo bond capital. So that is a bond that we took out in 2018, but never formally appropriated the spending of the proceeds from that bond. So we would request that the council do that. Happy to answer any questions on those items or any of the smaller items on the bill as well.
Any council questions on this bill?
Sorry.
Councilmember White?
Okay. I would just like for our city controller, when you made the statement that it was appropriated in 2018, but we're just now, can you kind of explain that time frame and why we're not doing it now?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we originally issued the bond and received the proceeds in 2018 for the zoo capital. Originally, because of the sort of structure of the bond where we are responsible for the payment of the bond, but not necessarily the actual, the repayment of the bond, excuse me, but not actually the responsible for the distribution of the payment. We had accounted for that off of our books. Given the putting together of our recent financial statements, the State Board of Accounts recommended that we actually account for that, the proceeds of that bond as well as the payment, the distributions for the capital projects on our accounting books, and so we would like to have those appropriated formally.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comment?
Yes, just to follow up to the earlier question, commission, or the question in committee, I'm sorry. Spoke about continued commitment at the same level, with the bond as yes. Approved. But I would actually like to inquire, just going forward, if council as a whole could be kept in the conversations or at least the loop updates with regard to any changes being considered in the operating level per the contract itself. My understanding is there is some leeway there to relook at that in light of other funding sources, and I think it would behoove us to actually look at that in light of the changed circumstances.
Sure, yes. So yeah, I will pass on that request to Aaron Perry, who is leading the city's part in those discussions with the zoo.
Anything else? There will be an opportunity for public comment after the third presentation. Would you go ahead with that?
Absolutely. So Bill 1819 is also a request for additional appropriations, but is for our enterprise funds as opposed to our governmental funds. These are more business-type activities. Relatively short list of appropriations. There is $960,000 request for a renovation and repairs at fire stations 3 and 6. As well as a $177,000 request, which is simply a transfer of the operating income for the Century Center in 2018 from their operating fund into their capital fund, and then a $63,000 request from the Century Center to cover the cost of funding a study for looking at options to expand the Century Center. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions on 1819? Okay, then we'll go to the public portion for comment on any one of these three bills. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of 1617 or 1819? Anyone in opposition? And we'll go back to the council portion.
Motion to send 1619 to the full council favorably.
Motion to send 1719 to council favorably.
I think we have to vote, all those in favor of sending 1619 to council favorably signify by saying aye.
Aye. Sorry.
Motion to send 1719 to the full council favorably.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to send 1719 to the full council favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to send 1819 to the full council favorably.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to send 1819 to the full council favorably. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition?
Motion to rise and resolve from the committee of the whole.
Second.
A motion made and seconded to rise and, the report, I guess, or whatever.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nay.
Aye. Any against? Mr. Brown?
Yeah. No, I'm all for it.
All right. Full council's now back in session. Ms. Fowler, would you please give third reading to 1219?
1219, third reading on an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance for property located at the northeast corner of Colby Boulevard and South Bend Avenue, Councilman District Number 4 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
Councilmember McBride?
Aye.
Councilmember Broden?
Aye.
Councilmember Teska?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Warden?
Aye.
Councilmember Furley?
Aye.
Vice President White?
Aye.
President Scott?
Aye.
9-9.
Thank you. Third reading, 1319, please.
1319, third reading on an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 3102 East Mishawaka Avenue, Councilman District Number 3 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember McBride?
Aye.
Councilmember Broden?
Aye.
Councilmember Teska?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Warden?
Aye.
Councilmember Furley?
Aye.
Vice President White?
Aye.
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
President Scott?
Aye.
9-9.
Thank you. 1619, please.
1619, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, for budget transfers in various departments within the City of South Bend, Indiana, for the year of 2019.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Broden?
Aye.
Councilmember Teska?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon?
Aye.
Councilmember Furley?
Aye.
Vice President White?
Aye.
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
Councilmember McBride?
Aye.
President Scott?
Aye.
9-9.
Thank you. 1719.
1719, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating additional funds for certain departmental and city service operations in 2019 of $85,857 from the General Fund 101, $657,159 from the Park and Recreation Fund 201, $28,150 from the Gift, Donation, and Bequest Fund 217, $97,077 from the Hall of Fame Debt Service Fund 313, $321,707 from the 2018 Fire Street 9 Bond Debt Service Fund 350, $178,534 from Professional Sports Development Fund 377, $1,811,500 from the County Option Income Tax Fund number 404, $3,003,000 from 2018 Zoo Bond Capital Fund number 453, and $70,000 from the Smart Streets Bond Capital Fund number 753.
Motion to approve?
Second. Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Teska?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Warden?
Aye.
Councilmember Furley?
Aye.
Vice President White?
Aye.
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
Councilmember McBride?
Aye.
Councilmember Broden?
Aye.
President Scott?
Aye.
9-9.
Thank you. 1819, please.
1819, third reading of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating additional funds for certain departmental and enterprise operations in 2019 of $960,000 from the EMS Capital Fund number 287, $177,475 from the Century Center Operating Fund number 670, and $63,000 from the Century Center Capital Fund 671.
Motion for passage?
Second.
Ms. Fowler?
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon?
Aye.
Councilmember Furley?
Aye.
Vice President White?
Aye.
Councilmember Preston?
Aye.
Councilmember McBride?
Aye.
Councilmember Broden?
Aye.
Councilmember Teschka.
Aye.
President Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. Move to first readings. Ms. Fowler, would you please read 1919?
The resolution is not, do they have to make a motion?
It was...
First reading.
The resolution was continued in committee. So we can move on to first reading.
1919, first reading on an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 1510 and 1520 Washington Street, 1636 Circle Avenue, Councilmanic District Number 2 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
I move that this be sent to Area Plan for their meeting on July 16th, and then back to our Zoning and Annexation Committee on July 22nd.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Unfinished business. Ms. Fowler, would you please read 1945?
1945, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Area Board of Zoning Appeals for property located at 407, 411, 419, 423, and 427 Francis Street.
I move that this be sent to our Zoning and Annexation Committee for second reading and public hearing on July 27th.
Second.
22nd.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Mr. President, before you go into new business, could you share, because I think it's great news regarding the trains, because that's not new business, but we don't have old business. Could you just share the outcome of that on the west side?
You mean the quiet zones?
The quiet zones, yes.
Yes, so today, and there was actually a press release that was sent out today, this pretty much affects the 6th and the 2nd District. The city has put safeguards in place and re-engineered where the Federal Railroad Administration has approved for quiet zones within that district. What that means is the safety is not compromised on the crossings, and it's only for the Norfolk Southern trains right now. We have Norfolk Southern, we have Canadian National, and we have Amtrak trains that run through our city. We run over 100 trains through our city every day. That's over 500 times that they blow the whistle through those intersections within our city. As of June 17th, they started a quiet zone where safety barriers are put in place, and it allows the trains to pass through our city without blowing their whistles, only if there's emergency or something is on the track. Therefore, they're going to be passing through our city quietly. Now, that's only the Norfolk Southern, I gotta say that slow, trains. We are still working on the CN trains and the Amtrak trains. There will be more to come, probably later this fall before we hear about that. So, as many know that there's a detriment to learning, to sleep, to every kind of ability, quality of life that happens within trains and the noises, the horns that they blow. So this is a big improvement for our city.
Thank you. I'm very glad. Thank you to co-sponsor that with you, and look forward to getting more sleep now. Thank you.
Thank you. With that,
new business.
Any other new business?
I would so. Mr. Tushman? Yeah. So I know that this is likely a county issue, but I don't know if Health and Public Safety can look into the tornado siren issue. Last night, I know some residents south of Jackson, including myself, as the tornado had already formed and whatnot. I don't know if there's a siren out, if something's going on the far south side. Some heard sirens, some didn't. Notifications got out late. Thank God last night there was no loss of life. Seems to be no injury, but if we can look into that with the county and see what we can do.
Okay, we will inquire on that. Anything else on new business? Seeing none, we will now turn to the privilege of the floor. Privilege of floor, this is section 2-12, common council meetings order of business. Privilege of floor. Individuals who wish to address the common council must first state their name and residential address. Individuals are limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Furlick will keep time. The maximum time limit for this portion of the meeting will be 30 minutes. Individuals will address, individuals will only address issues that the city has jurisdiction. Individuals shall not be permitted to address topics that the common council has heard previously on the agenda tonight. So anything on the agenda tonight cannot be talked about. The common council president may assign topics raised by the individuals during the privilege of the floor and appropriate council members, and request the city clerk to contact members of the administration for review of the comments. All topics assigned shall be responded in a regularly scheduled council meeting. With privilege of the floor, this is a unique situation. I'm asking Mr. Bonds to step up first, if you could, please. Mr. Creighton, can we allow Mr. Bonds to speak first? Thank you. Mr. Bonds, if you would state your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes.
My name is Tyree, T-Y-R-E-E, Bond, B-O-N-D-S. Address is 1222 High Street. I just wanted to say this. Everything was going on right now, the death of my brother. Only thing I ask the public and everybody is, stop using his death for your own personal agenda. Please don't. This is what the family asked. You know what I'm saying? Our family want justice. We don't want arguing. We don't want y'all yelling at the board, yelling at the governor, yelling at the police, none of that. We know for a fact this is going to take a process. If we as a family willing to accept that, y'all got to accept it too. I watched all the yelling and hooping and hollering yesterday. That was just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Don't use my brother for your own circle agenda. He did. We can talk with him. But all this yelling, everybody know this stuff been going on for a long time. Now let everything happen. They said they're going to be a special prosecutor and let that happen. Don't use y'all things, my brother, for your personal agenda. That's the only thing the family asked. That's the reason I came down here tonight. You know, I appreciate everything that's going on. Only thing we want is justice. We asking y'all, as the board, you know, do your job. That's all we asking, as a family member. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Please do. Next, name and address.
Creighton, C-R-A-Y-T-O-N, and I am one of the vice presidents of the LaSalle Park Neighborhood Association Alliance. My problem is, we have a wildlife habitation at 302 South Avenue. It came as a surprise to us. No one told us about it at all, as normal. So something happened there. I know something happened. In the past, that's what you did. But why did this happen this time? And I'll say this, that the seller of this particular property asked this young man, kept asking him, what are you going to do there? What are you going to put back there? So he finally told him he was going to put a garden there. But this is the garden. You know, we didn't have transparency from you, and we didn't have transparency from him. This is unsafe. This is an unsafe thing. That grass, this tall grass, I have some pictures floating around someplace. You got them? Yeah. This is the grass, and this stuff will burn. I'll test it. So, if you don't take my word, or you can have the fire department go out there, get their opinion. You know, it's unsafe. And if you will look, there are some pictures there. That grass is 3 foot from one of the neighbor's house, 10 foot from the other one, and it's 50 foot from my house. You know, That shouldn't be. And the police were chasing the guy, and they caught him in that tall grass. So there again, you can get that police report.
And you have 30 seconds.
They were burned. And it's a nuisance. We got enough groundhogs in the area. You know, the city didn't do nothing about it, so we have to do that alone. So this guy's bringing more. And then there's mosquitoes. That mosquitoes and water is a breeding ground for, water and grass, tall grass, is a breeding ground for mosquitoes.
And sir,
You need
your
the grass
time is
cut.
up.
Sure. So I'm trusting you guys to do your job, take care of it. Then we got Mayor Pete with his executive power.
Thank you.
Get that mess out of our neighborhood.
Thank you, sir. Next name and address.
My name is George Jones. I reside at 256 North Sheridan Street. And as Mr. Creighton has indicated, I am also concerned about this man's residence. As I initially went by his house, when he first purchased the house, it was a lovely home. Then a couple weeks I came by again, and I saw the grass started growing. I thought the guy had moved from the house. I mean, weeds was up to his door. I mean, it looks horrible. As he says, it's, we already have a sanctuary out there. If you come down Linden Street and next to the tracks, you see that we have a natural sanctuary. We don't need a sanctuary in the middle of our community where kids are playing and animals are being housed in this particular field. As you indicate, groundhogs, it could be raccoons, it could be skunks, it could be any type of rodent in that area, infestation. So mosquitoes, as he indicated before, that water, settling there and the weeds and so forth, harboring and developing bugs and all this type of stuff. The neighbors, their yards are well manicured, but yet this man moved into the community with an agenda to put a sanctuary there. He has two lots. He has a lot on the right side and a lot on the left side so that he can have a bigger sanctuary. Not only that, but my last comment is there's 100 houses demolition in 100 days. That's the concern too, because again, Mayor Pete did not use foresight to see the problem that would manifest itself once the house was demolished. Grass is growing everywhere. I just came down Diamond Street over on the northeast side, and I bet you maybe 3 or 4 houses, grass was flourishing. That's an abomination. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next name and address.
My name is Dennis Plump, 302 South Chicago. I am second vice president of the LaSalle Park Neighborhood Alliance, and I'm piggybacking off of my two brothers here. And my question is, why is it taking so long for the city of South Bend to move on this matter? If this was a problem in any other neighborhood, and I want to say this not because I'm racist or I'm against certain nationalities, but for a white person from Notre Dame was living out there to move in our neighborhood and set up something like this and all of the red tape that is going through to get something done. What if a black person was to move out in a predominantly white neighborhood and tried to do something like this? I guarantee you that it would not take place, and can go and no one could go online and get a certificate or something to stop the procedure of this happening. It's ridiculous. And you as the council have the right and authority to stop this, because people that live out on the end of town where we live in the LaSalle neighborhood, we pride ourselves in keeping our yards and things kept up, even though we don't have high type dollar homes. But then to have someone to move in there and then put a different agenda and a different scenery there, and then we have to live there and accept it and not have anything to say, about it being done, it's atrocious. So I'm saying to you, do your job. Do your job like you do on everything else and all over the businesses that has come up here today. Come into that neighborhood where the low-income people and give perspective to things that there where we live at, so we can have a peace of mind in living in an area and keeping our area good, and then one person can do anything and nothing else is done. It's up to you.
Thank you, sir. Next, name and address.
Jason Benicki, Critchlow, 3822 Ford Street. Much of what I was going to talk about today was kind of preempted thanks to the FOP 36 stepping up today and issuing a pretty stern letter reminding us that tragic events that happened, such as what happened on June the 16th, should not be used as political pawns, that our police officers are not political pawns. These are 239 men and women who go out there and defend our, go out there and try to protect our neighborhoods and stand up for us every day. Are they perfect? Far from it. Do all of us have the same experience with them? Far from it. I am willing to acknowledge that I have a very different experience than many people in my community with the police. But that doesn't mean that they should be subject to constant scrutiny of every decision they make. When you have people who have never taken a moment of use of force training or had to make a use of force decision, question a use of force that is made without any of the facts yet, and then try to make suppositions and accusations against an officer without all of the facts. Let the process play out. Let us take our time. We don't need to make a judgment day 1 or day 10. We got an important piece of the puzzle today, which is special prosecutor. I wish we would have got it 6 months ago when Erica Flores incident happened. We need more consistency like this. If our police are involved, then the prosecutor needs to step aside and let somebody else handle that. But I think we need to remember, we don't know everything that happened that night. Let's not make it a political pawn for both local and national media attention while we run for president or whatever we choose to run for. Let's remember that most of these people mean well when they go out there every day to protect us, and that thanks to the city last year slashing 30 police officer positions from the budget, that not only are they undermanned, they are now in perpetuity undermanned and not going to be able to do the job that they should be every day of the year.
Thank you. Kramer.
Jesse Davis, P.O. Box 10205, South Bend, Indiana. I just want to say I agree with what Jason said and the family member Tree that came up and spoke first. I really hope our mayor is sitting up in his office listening, because I received the second email today that was very disturbing that the mayor put out on his Pete for President email page. And, it basically is doing nothing but talking about this shooting and the death of this man and racism. We already see in the news media that he's obviously having a problem garnering the black vote. But he should not be putting these emails out basically pandering for that black vote. And that's what it appears to be in most people's eyes. I went to the town hall meeting yesterday and sat through the town hall meeting. Yes, it got a little bit loud, it got a little bit crazy, but people are angry, they're pissed off, and they're tired. They're tired of hearing the same old thing. I pulled up and shared another town hall that the mayor had back in 2012. I shared the news article of it today. And the mayor was speaking, and we heard the same thing. Transparency. We want community input. We've been listening to this for a long time. But we don't get it. Even here we don't get it. I've came to you folks, I've filed proper APRAs for some equipment that mysteriously appeared at the city. I've been trying to get my information for 3 years. The last time I filed here, I was told, well, hey, you didn't file an APRA. Why should I have to continue to file APRAs for several years running for the same information? Why can't the legal department, once the investigation is completed, which was their excuse for not releasing the information to me, once that is done, please send me my information. Don't make me have to try to remember it 3 years later and file another APRA. That's not transparency. I can show numerous cases where I've tried to pull public documents and been turned down. I go through the public access counselor in Indianapolis who's supposed to solve those problems. Guess what? They don't get solved. I get excuse after excuse from different people in the legal department who come and go as the city attorneys.
You have 30 seconds.
So all I'm saying is, if the council members, you all are, that are politicking, and the mayor and the upcoming mayors, everybody keeps talking transparency. Let's see some of that, for real, let's see it. Ask the chief of police and the mayor, what do they want us as a public to do to help this violence problem? They keep saying it's a community problem. We need your help. What exactly do they want us to do? What do they want us to do? We don't get invited to the table in many cases.
Thank you. Next, name and address.
Good evening. My name is Comanche Wheeler once again.
A little louder, ma'am, I'm sorry.
My name is Comanche Wheeler once again, and I reside at 1628 South Carlisle Street. And I was one of the ones last night that was yelling. Let them tell it. But to me, I'm a mother of injustice, I believe, and that was just my pain and agony from being unheard for 8 years. But that's one thing, okay, because I'm trying to get that was a lot of energy. So what brought me here tonight was because I'm a mother and my character matters. So if it looked like I was out of character, then these are my apologies to the city. What I was trying to do is I know plenty of officers, good ones, black and white. I stood beside Mayor when he didn't even know. I got pictures with him he doesn't even know about. That's how long I've been a positive activist in our community. I stood with Tim Scott, Karen White, when many outreaches went to the African American women, mothers, fathers. When all of this black-on-black crime started, they opened up Northwest Side community. All the news was there. I was the only black. I was the only black mother. I mean, I've been out here in a positive light. So what I said yesterday, which affected the black community, and they called me you heard it. The reason why that is because I put my life out on the line just like the police do, and I tried to bring the black community together, and they didn't want to, and I still fought. They were mad at me because I supported Pete, and Scott, because they introduced GDI. A lot of people overlooked that, and that was something that was implemented for South Bend, for black-on-black crimes, for every mother and every parent to get out here. The people that will be dealing with your kids, if they commit these crimes, you had the opportunity to meet them. I'm talking about from U.S. Marshals, the mayor was there, lawyers was there, council members was there. They had the kids that was on probation at the time there. So when these crimes happen, right, nobody, parents went but me. My proof is right here.
And you have 30 seconds.
Okay, my proof is in the making is what I'm saying. So that's all I was yelling. And I was yelling to the NAACP because you have nothing implemented in for black-on-black crime and organize things for our own people. So don't wait till something goes on with the police, which that is an issue, but there's people in place for that. So I'm not getting into that, but what are you doing for your own community before you can go step out and then just come and try to attack them to destroy a whole city?
Thank you, ma'am. Next, name and address, please.
Anthony Vizzoli, 1141 Blaine Avenue. I'm a professional soccer referee, as Gavin here can attest to. I'm a pretty good referee. So I am, and my father was a criminologist at Notre Dame. I am well aware of the difficulty of the job that policemen have. I took it upon myself to take the Citizens Police Academy last summer, and I'd recommend any citizen to take advantage of that. It's a free course. It teaches you, what police officers go through. Fantastic. I came away with the course, with a lot more information, an idea of what police officers go through. One thing I asked during the class several times was, why is the only training shoot to kill? I've asked friends who have parents that are police officers, why this emphasis? Why not shoot to wound? And the answer I got all the time was the torso is a bigger target. In another presentation, they talked about rubber bullets shot from a distance, or it's more like a rubber ball. And he brought up that you aim for the thigh. I haven't been shot. I haven't been threatened with a gun, knock on wood, so far. But I would imagine if I were shot in the leg, I would double over in pain and not be able to discharge a weapon. I don't know if that's the case or not. But another answer I was given, if, let's say there's a knife. In this case, apparently there was a knife. While I was doing an FATS training, my situation was enter a school and there's somebody holding a knife to the students. And they told me I didn't shoot him soon enough. And I asked why. Well, because he was threatening, and I just think a lot of officers, and once again, I know it's difficult, you're in this position, they have an itchy trigger finger. And they need to take courses in psychology how to get themselves calm. Okay. Our training as referees is to treat the situation with as little intervention and as little punishment as necessary to control the situation. And I think a lot of the police officers need to recognize that that would be helpful in their job so they're not getting into situations like this.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
I appreciate your listening. Once again, I'd emphasize, sign up for the Citizens Police Academy. I believe the applications are going out. Ken Garcia, you can contact him, and you really learn a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Sims.
My
Name
name is
and
Paula
address.
Sims. I reside at 1636 Florence Avenue here in South Bend. My problem is with the overgrown grass that's in my community. As our way here, we pass by at least about 10 lots for the grass at least 5-6 feet tall, okay? And yeah, we call code enforcement. They tell us they'll cut it, but it's a process. The residents of Kennedy Park is getting tired of the process when there's grass 10 feet tall by our home. The kids in our neighborhood cannot walk on the sidewalk. They have to walk in the street, where if they caught walking in the street, an officer would stop and tell them to get on the sidewalk. But which one of y'all would want y'all kids to get on the sidewalk where there's grass 10 feet and 5 foot tall, okay? My resident calls me and asks me to call court enforcement, call the common council. Regina she's our council person. She does an excellent job. But we are getting tired of reaching out for help, and we're not even getting help, okay? Good Samaritan. We have our environmental person. He would cut grass, but it's cutting grass where code enforcement should cut it. We are tired of this, okay? When my residents call me and say, Vala, can you call down there? Yes, I call down there, okay? They look at me like I'm failing them, okay? Yes, I'm failing them because what they're asking me to do in the city is not doing. I'm failing them in the city. The city is failing my community. We need action with this tall grass. There's no way that grass in our neighborhood should be 10 foot tall. Not 1 lot, 2 lot. But you go to Kennedy Park area, I'm guaranteed you can find at least 10 lots, okay? Across from my house, the grass have not been cut all summer. That lot is 6 foot tall. I went out there and measured with a tape measure. I'm just asking the common council, I don't know, do the code enforcement, the parks department doesn't have enough manpower, not enough mowers, but we need answers, okay? We are getting sick and tired of living in the way we're doing. I'm afraid to go outside, don't know when somebody will jump out the grass. I'm afraid to let my little granddaughter play because I don't know what's in the grass, animals or body or whatever. So please, just give us some answers. This has been going all summer, and we should have answers why that grass over there in Kennedy Park is 10 feet tall. Like I said, it's not 1 lot, 2 lot. It's a bunch of lots. Anywhere you walk over in Kennedy Park area, the grass is that tall. And please, let me, serve my community while you help me serve my community. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. Name and address, please.
My name is Sandra Karish. I live at 1909 Parallel Street, South Bend. we had the mayor come to our Kennedy Park Neighborhood Association meeting. He had told us that there were certain streets in our area that was going to be paved. Those streets, yet to this day, have not been paved. There's potholes, major potholes. They did come and fix them on my street because of the fact that I popped a tire. I called. They finally got somebody out there. I had one that was over 4 foot deep. I popped a tire trying to get to my house. We need these streets fixed. They are getting to the point that people are bending tire rims, they're breaking axles. Several vehicles have been damaged due to these streets not being fixed like we were promised. We're just asking that we get the cooperation of the city to get these streets fixed in our neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One more, name and address, please.
My name is Lucy Harris Wigfall, and I live at 1603 Longley, South Bend, Indiana, 46628. And I came tonight to speak about a tree. It fell on the electrical wires there on the corner of my house in Wilbur 11 days ago. We've been calling and calling and calling different ones. I were instructed from the 311 number to call the light company. I called them. Finally, they came out after a week, 7 days, and cut a little of the branches from the small wire up there. And today, finally, there was another company that people came out and they cut the tree down off of the electrical lines. But part of the plastic, whatever it was that was the covering that covers the raw wires, that's left still up there. I don't know if it's light, I don't know if it's electrical, I don't know if it's telephone or what. But I'm really concerned that when we have a problem there in our area, why does it take so long for us to get the help that we need? We pay taxes just like everybody else. My house is surrounded with grass that has not been cut this year, and I believe that the lots belong to the city. What are we supposed to do? And how can we get somebody to come out there and do what they need to do from what nature caused? The wind blew and the tree fell on the electrical lines, and nobody is getting that off. We have children in the neighborhood, and I'm really concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll have the city look into that. Thank you. Entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Good night, everybody. Peace. Good job, everybody.